Welcome to Food for Thought, where we look at the business, science and politics of all things food. Earlier this year, the US Department of Agriculture cut 2 federal programs that helped schools and food banks buy food directly from local farms. The programs are worth nearly $1 billion. About $660 million went to schools and $420 million to food banks and community groups. The Trump administration cut the pandemic-era programs, saying it wants to go back to, quote, long-term fiscally responsible initiatives. Now, when programs lose funding, we often focus on budget savings, but there's another impact that's less obvious: the business networks and opportunities that get cut. To get more insight into the consequence of cutting farm school lunch programs, we're joined by Parke Wilde. He's a professor at the Friedman School of Nutrition, Science and Policy at Tufts University in Boston. He's also an author of the book Food Policy in the United States, an introduction. You can see a copy of the cover on your screen right now. So welcome to the show, Parke. Thanks so much for joining us today. Now, it seems like such a wonderful idea, this farm-to-school network, local supply chains, fresh food for young children. Can you talk a little bit about how this program served schools and also the correlating supply chains?
You could hear in your segment how popular this is and what the potential appeal could be. This is enjoyed by business people who work in the agriculture sector. It's appreciated by people in the education sector, and it's appreciated by people in the anti-hunger area of work in the United States. And so there's a number of people who are disappointed to see this program go.
So if federal nutrition programs or school meal programs face significant cuts, how will this impact the US food security beyond just the schools?
Well, this is a program that arose during the COVID period. It was partly to send a stimulus into the economy at a time when supply chains were at risk of seizing up. But it was also something that had been in the background for a long time as a potentially appealing program. Before this program existed, the way the federal school meals program worked, for example, the National School Lunch Program, is a certain amount of money was sent on a per meal basis to the school food authorities that have to carry out the programs and serve the meals, and also some commodities were provided. And so I think what will happen is we'll return to that sort of more industrial type food distribution. You'll see more processed food in the schools. The cut to the financing is enough to sting, but it won't really sink the program. The total funding for the school lunch program is about $16 billion per year.
Right, so do farm-to-school programs actually deliver better value for US taxpayers when you factor in all of the economic benefits, or are they more of a feel-good policy, do you think, at this point?
You know, that's a little bit in the eye of the beholder. If you think of the industrial nature of school food as a major shortcoming of education in the United States, then you'd think, hey, this is a must-have. Schools in other countries, for example, in France, serve much fresher food than we serve under the ordinary per meal reimbursement system. And so I think that maybe as you're asking somebody who works in a nutrition school, this seems like a substantial loss.
Yeah. So in that sense, do these issues like this and supply chain disruptions show the vulnerabilities in the US school food system, do you think?
Definitely. The school food system is under enormous strain. The school food authorities have to balance budgets on a fairly small reimbursement, and they have to address multiple goals. They have to meet nutrition standards. They have to keep the parents happy. They have to serve the meal quick enough. And so I think they feel a good deal of stress during these times.
How does it work in terms of a socioeconomic level? You know, is it low-income students that are benefiting from programs like this, or is this a program that is across the board and all families have access to it?
That's a really important question, because some of the key nutrition assistance programs in the United States are means tested. They're only for people who have fairly low income. Whereas the school meals program, the National School Lunch Program, and the school breakfast program are for all the kids in the schools. The kids with lower incomes get their meals for free. The kids who are from middle income or above, they get their meals at a cost that they pay at the cash register. But in all cases, everybody gets to participate. And one of the things is that sometimes in the past, the program has tended to serve only low-income students, and the higher-income students would get their food elsewhere at lunchtime, perhaps bringing their own bag lunch or perhaps buying it elsewhere. And having the fresh food, the local food, helps add appeal that lets everybody get their lunches together at the same time, which has kind of an egalitarian spirit to it.
Yeah. So when schools shift away from local sourcing, how does it affect rural communities economically?
So many rural communities, for example, in the heartland, they earn a lot of their income selling foods into the commodity food system. So if you were a producer in Indiana or in Iowa, it probably doesn't make all that much difference to you to have the local food demand from the schools be reduced a bit. But for a lot of farmers in communities on the coasts, in the Northeast, in other parts of the country that are near big cities that have large school districts nearby, this gives them a chance to have a market that they wouldn't otherwise have access to, other than the very rock bottom price commodity agricultural markets. Remember, the commodity agricultural markets do not pay all that much on a per bushel basis. And so, as you heard in your segment, the farmers who can earn a little bit of a higher rate per bushel, selling especially fresh foods at a premium to local markets, there's a certain appeal for everybody involved.
All right, we'll leave it there. Parke Wilde, really appreciate your time on the program tonight.
It's a pleasure to talk to you, Sally.